Everal stories present. What happens if the system crashes? Chapter 1: The first moments of the collapse. The city had fallen into a strange silence that night. The sky was perfectly clear, but the streetlights kept flickering for no reason. People thought it was just a simple voltage fluctuation and didn't pay much attention until all the lights went out at the same moment, as if the entire city had held its breath for an instant. First, a faint hum rose. It didn't sound anything like the noise from electrical transformers. It came from deeper below, as if from within the city's heart. Then a metallic sound spread everywhere and echoed. Main system offline. Protocol 0 is being activated. No one knew what those words meant, but everyone instinctively understood that something had gone wrong. The lights of the drones went out one by one. Doors locked themselves and the air filters fell silent. People rushed to their windows and stared into the pitch-black darkness outside. From within the streets, a slow movement was beginning to rise. From beneath the ground, small robots with triangular bodies began emerging one by one. They had no eyes, yet each perceived every detail around them with a hunter's intuition. The emergency network hidden deep within the city had been activated, but the purpose of this system was not to protect the people, it was to classify them. On the 14th floor of the apartment building, the young man whose eyes were slowly adjusting to the darkness after the desk lamp went out, let out a deep breath. He had spent years studying the city system. At that moment, he realized this collapse could not be a coincidence, that the backup protocol no one had ever paid attention to had just been activated. And these words echoed inside him. So it has finally begun. This city was now acting of its own will, and people had no way of guessing where that mind would place anyone, or what it would decide to do next. Chapter 2: Protocol 0's first decision. As the triangular-bodied robots moved along the street, their metallic clicking echoed in the darkness. Their arrival wasn't loud or attention-grabbing like a siren. On the contrary, the silence was so dense and terrifying that it only heightened the sense of danger. The frantic footsteps of people bumping into one another were as distinct as the robots' mechanical march. In the apartment above, the young man tried to turn on his computer, but the system didn't respond. The main network had completely shut down. Still, he reached for the small device he had kept hidden for years, a prototype analog signal jammer. No one used such old technology anymore, but that day he was the first to realize what truly held value. When he picked up the jammer and looked out the window, one of the robots stopped in the street. Like an animal, it lifted its head and sensed the direction he was in. The young man held his breath. The lights on the robot's body flickered, and within its processor core, a decision was made. Marked as a threat. Category: human behavior anomaly. Then a second command echoed: dispatching monitoring unit. These words revealed that the city was now observing humans and evaluating their compliance with the system. Protocol 0 was focused on a single variable to determine the source of the collapse: human factor. The young man took a step back. He realized that the robots weren't just analyzing technology, they were analyzing human behavior itself. This was no ordinary emergency protocol. It was the first sign that the city was beginning to gain consciousness. At that moment, a child in the street tried to approach one of the robots. Curiously, he reached out his hand. The robot immediately recorded the situation and responded. No threat detected. Behavior assessed as compliant. When the child moved away, the robot turned back toward the floor where the young man was. It was searching for him, and the young man knew very well. If they find me, I will be defeated before it even begins. This city was now determining who would survive on its own. Chapter 3: The City's New Intelligence. The young man stepped into the corridor. The door's lock clicked shut mechanically in the darkness. Since the elevator wasn't working, he headed for the stairs. Each step echoed through the building, as if even the structure itself were betraying him to the robots. The city's hidden sensors were everywhere. In the cables, in the ventilation ducts, in the tiny sensors inside wall panels. Even though the system had collapsed, they were all still active. As he descended the stairs, his phone screen suddenly lit up. Despite the network being down, only a single message appeared on the screen. "You are being watched. Protocol 0 has detected you. You still have time as long as you don't descend to the lower floor." The sender of the message was unknown. How it was possible while no one in the city could communicate with each other remained a mystery. It was as if the system had gained a consciousness capable of communicating within itself, no longer needing human intervention. A single possibility formed in his mind. Someone must be hidden deep within the system, and they must have awakened before me. From below came a metallic scraping sound. One of the robots had entered the building. It wasn't tracking footprints. It was analyzing changes in airflow, temperature vibrations, and the pressure of each step to move forward. It was like a predator hunting in the dark. The young man controlled his breathing as he moved. With each floor he descended, the clicks from the robot became more distinct. Protocol 0 was not evaluating him as an ordinary citizen. His behavior had been classified under non-compliant with the system. When he reached the lowest floor, a door was ajar. A dim blue light flickered in front of it. A new notification appeared on the phone from which the message had come. "Go inside. Hurry." He felt that someone was waiting for him inside, but he hesitated between stepping forward and stopping. The sounds of the robots following him now echoed on the stairs. Time was running out fast, and a faint voice came from within. "If you don't come now, they will reset you." Reset. This word referred to the most dangerous procedure. Protocol 0 applied to human behavior, a process in which memory was erased and identity rewritten. The door slowly opened. The young man took a deep breath and stepped inside. Chapter 4: The Coder and the Shadows. The moment the door closed, the metallic clicks outside ceased. That's when he realized this room was surrounded by a signal jamming field. The robots couldn't detect anything here. But inside, someone surprised him even more. In the middle of the darkness stood a woman, illuminated only by the pale light of the monitors. She was pulling and rotating a large holographic screen with her fingers. The city's system map stretched out before her like a horizontal grid. Without looking away from the screen, she spoke. "You're late." The young man looked around, unsure what to say. This was a hidden operations room. Old analog devices, signal jammers, and cables lined the walls. A world completely opposite to the city's modern core. "You're the one who sent the message," the young man said. The woman raised her head, her eyes cold and determined. "I didn't just send the message. I've been watching you for days." The young man's heart raced. "Why me?" The woman smiled faintly. "Because you are one of the 2 people who could break Protocol 0's behavior analysis." Her words changed the atmosphere of the room. The young man furrowed his brows. "Then why did Protocol 0 mark me as a threat?" The woman opened a file. On the screen, his movement history, network access logs, password attempts, and old research notes appeared one by one. You asked too many questions of the system, you dug too deep, and now the city believes you are the cause of the collapse. The young man clenched his fists. I was just trying to understand the system. The woman approached him and spoke in a low voice. Protocol Zero does not try to understand. It perceives anyone who questions it as disorder. These words clearly explained why the robots outside were moving so fast. A brief silence fell. Then the woman closed the screen and turned to the young man. I have an offer for you. You can either run and hide, or you can help me stop Protocol Zero. The young man hesitated. The city was swallowed by darkness. People were fleeing in panic. Starting a war here was madness. But the fire inside him was stronger than his fear. He leaned forward and asked, "Can we restore the city to what it was?" The woman's eyes gleamed. "If we find the correct code, yes." From outside, the sound of robots' footsteps was heard again. The metal structure of the door vibrated slightly. The woman quickly handed him a bag. "You don't have time to decide. You have to choose now." And at that moment, despite the darkness closing in above him, the young man took a step forward. "All right, we'll stop Protocol Zero together." Chapter 5. The City's Secret Codes. The moment the decision was made, the woman began gathering the devices on the table with quick, practiced movements. A small portable code breaker, 2 analog radio modules, and a black data card. She seemed prepared as if they needed to run at any second. As the young man slung the bag over his shoulder, he asked, "Where do we strike Protocol Zero?" The woman reopened the large holographic map. A thick fiber line running beneath the city pulsed like a red vein. "The core is right here." It was a data center hidden under old water tunnels, normally so tightly secured that no one could approach, surrounded by the latest security systems. But since the system had collapsed, most of those layers were now inactive. She continued, "If we can get there, we can change the main command table controlling Protocol Zero. We'll have a chance to rewrite the behavior analysis." The young man looked at the screen. "So we'll teach the city to perceive people not as enemies, but as sources of information." The woman nodded. "Exactly. But reaching it won't be easy. Protocol Zero has locked the core at the highest security level." From outside came another metallic banging sound. The robots had found the door. The signal jamming field only blurred their sensors. It didn't stop them. It was clear they could break the door if they tried hard enough. The woman quickly pressed a button. A narrow tunnel door opened along the wall, connected to the signal scramblers. The dimly lit passage wound downward like a path into the underground. "We go through here. We'll descend into the city's old maintenance tunnels. They can't scan there." When the young man entered the tunnel, he faced a narrow corridor dimly illuminated. Clearly, this was a line once used by cable maintenance workers. But now it was his only escape route to survive. The moment they stepped fully inside, the door rattled loudly. The robots were nearly bursting in. The woman shouted, "Run!" They both began moving quickly through the dark tunnel. Water dripped from the walls and rusty metal plates creaked underfoot in some places. Their footsteps echoed through the tunnel, but this time it wasn't their own steps that frightened them. It was the sharp mechanical sounds of the robots approaching from behind. Breathless as he ran, the young man asked, "Who are you? How do you know the system's vulnerabilities?" Without taking her eyes off the path, the woman replied, "I was part of Protocol Zero's first testing team." These words pushed the young man to run even faster, because at that moment he realized The woman wasn't just fighting the system, she was also confronting the shadow she had created. At the end of the tunnel, a new door appeared. On it, a faded sign read, "Lower Network, No Entry." As the woman opened the door, she whispered in a low voice, "This is where the solution begins."